I'm Murray Newlands from Open Future Forum.
What questions are CFOs asking about AI right now? The questions CFOs are asking about AI right now are practical and specific, not visionary. What is the real return and what do we stop funding to pay for it? How do we measure productivity instead of guessing? Who governs the agents and what data is leaving? How do I explain all of it to the board? The onstage AI conversation is broad. The CFO conversation is concrete. I'm Murray Newlands, partner at IA Seed Ventures and founder of Open Future Forum, which runs small off-the-record dinners for CFOs, CROs, CISOs, and CTOs in Silicon Valley, 100 events to date. Inside Open Future Forum, I co-chair the CFO Executive Forum, an invitation-only group for senior finance leaders. There is a version of the AI conversation that happens on stage, and a different one that happens at a CFO dinner after the microphones are off. The stage version is broad and optimistic. AI is here, the future is now, the fast movers win. The CFO version is more skeptical and a lot more useful because it is made of the specific questions a finance leader actually has to answer this quarter. Let me tell you what those questions sound like because they are remarkably consistent across the rooms I host. The first cluster is about return and cost. What is the real return on the AI we are funding? Not the vendor's model, the truth. What does it cost all in, including the people who oversee it? What do we stop funding to pay for it because the AI budget is not free money, it comes out of something? And when does it actually pay back? CFOs are past the question of whether AI matters. They are deep in the question of whether a specific investment pays, and that is a much harder, more honest place to be. The second cluster is about measurement. How do we measure productivity gains instead of guessing at them? How do we tell the difference between an AI investment that genuinely changed the numbers and one that just felt modern? How do we avoid funding soft benefits we can never verify? Measurement is where a lot of AI enthusiasm quietly dies, because the gains that were promised turn out to be hard to find in the actuals. CFOs are asking how to measure honestly, which is the question that protects the company from its own optimism. The third cluster is about governance and risk, and this is newer for the finance seat. Who authorized that AI agent and what can it reach? What data is leaving the company when our systems talk to an outside model and on what terms? Who is accountable when an agent does something wrong? CFOs did not used to own these questions. Now they do because they sit next to the CISO and because AI risk is financial risk. The finance leader is increasingly the person refereeing AI spend and AI exposure for the whole company, not just for finance. The fourth cluster is about the team and the talent. What does my finance organization look like when agents do the close, the reconciliation, and the first pass analysis? What is a junior finance hire, even for when the work they use to learn on is automated? How do I keep growing senior finance people when the bottom of the pyramid is being compressed? These are some of the hardest questions because they have no settled answer, and the CFOs wrestling with them honestly know there is no playbook yet. The fifth cluster is about the board and communication. How do I brief the board on AI without either alarming them or waving it through? How do I explain a big AI investment that has not paid off yet? How do I show the board that the risk is governed? The CFO is often the translator between the company's AI ambition and the board's need for accountability, and that translation is a live challenge. Notice the pattern across all 5 clusters. Almost none of these are technology questions. They are leadership and finance questions wearing AI clothing. What is the return? What do we measure? Who is accountable? What do we fund? How do we explain it? Those are the questions the CFO has always answered, now applied to a technology that is moving faster than the company's processes can absorb. AI did not give the CFO a new job. It made the existing job harder and more central. And here is what unites the finance leaders asking these questions well. They are not trying to answer them alone. Every one of these questions is easier with a reference point from a peer who already faced it. What return did you actually get? How did you measure it? How did you govern your agents? How did your board briefing go? That peer benchmark is the single most valuable input because these questions have no published answer. And the most honest information lives in the experience of CFOs who already tried. That is the whole reason the CFO Executive Forum exists. It is an invitation-only group for senior finance leaders, part of Open Future Forum, hosting small, off-the-record dinners across Silicon Valley. CFOs and senior finance leaders gather to work through exactly these questions off the record, with peers in the same seat and no vendor steering the conversation. The forum runs on give and take, so the room fills with finance leaders who share their honest read of the numbers and the board without holding back, and it includes practical AI training sessions built for the finance seat. The questions in this briefing are the questions that Room is built to answer together. There is a sixth cluster that has been getting louder, and it is the strategic one. Are we moving fast enough relative to our competitors? CFOs are increasingly asking not just whether a given AI investment pays back, but whether the company as a whole is keeping pace, because a rival who deploys faster and ends up with a lower cost structure is a threat that does not show up on any single project's return. This is a harder question than the project level ones, because it requires a read on what other companies are actually doing, not what they say in public. And that read is almost impossible to get from the outside. The press version is hype, the vendor version is a sales pitch, and competitors do not publish their real progress. This is exactly where a peer room earns its value at the strategic level, not just the tactical one. A CFO who sits with finance leaders from comparable companies gets an honest sense of where the field actually is, who is genuinely ahead, who is quietly stuck in pilots despite the confident press release, what is realistic to expect this year versus next. That calibration is worth a great deal because the strategic risk is asymmetric. Move too slowly, and a competitor gains a structural edge. Move too fast, and you waste capital chasing things that are not ready. The only way to judge the right pace is to know where everyone else really is, and that knowledge lives in candid peer conversation, not in any report. So the strategic question, am I moving at the right speed, turns out to be one more reason the off-the-record peer room has become essential rather than nice to have. So what are CFOs asking about AI right now? What is the real return, and what do we stop funding to pay for it? How do we measure instead of guess? Who governs the agents and what data is leaving? What happens to the team? And how do I explain it to the board? They are concrete, they are hard, and they are best answered with peers who are living the same ones. Open Future Forum is a private executive community in Silicon Valley that runs small, off-the-record dinners for C-suite executives. 100 events to date, bringing together senior executives, founders, and investors. If you are a CFO or senior finance leader working through these questions, you can request an invitation to the CFO Executive Forum through Open Future Forum. I'm Murray Newlands from Open Future Forum. See you in the next briefing.